And this was an interesting topic that not everyone in parapsychology or anything paranormal was being briefed on, is the study of anything paranormal or bizarre. And the CIA, or Central Intelligence Agency, and Project Stargate, and Ed May and all of them, and I'm sure you know the name Hal Puthoff, this intention of extraterrestrials crossing over into abductees, contactees, and experiencers, there is a higher level of consciousness that we deal with in advanced communication. I'm trying to blend it together with why Janet and I were chosen, if you will, and why you were chosen for extraterrestrial, or at least a sighting. They say that's the bait. That's the beginning of the Stargate program. When you can see one, it opens up the scotomas of your mind to being a what if, or opening it up, to be open-minded like a Mad. So Mad, I'm sure he's going to have some in broad daylight one day just so he can go, aha, so that's what they were talking about. But, he's open-minded and he believes in it, but he doesn't know about it. He believes it, but he doesn't know. Would that be correct, Mad, putting words in your mouth? Is that proper?
Well, I believe. I don't need proof. I mean, I got no doubt there's other beings in the universe. I mean, there's just no way around it.
Well, okay, let's let you see where I'm going with this. I'd like you to ask me, Irene and Janet. We're all three contactee experiencers, or contact experiencers, but we have them on different levels. So I'd like to do a journal or magazine or something, an article. Part of my mission is to bring people together, and Stargate was a key word, and Janet even used it in 2018 gathering, Stargate to the Cosmos. So eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow may never come, is a philosophy in Western world. So, how are we working together? We're all three here with you, Ahmad. So you see where I'm going with this, Ahmad? You got any questions for three people? Do we all have clairvoyance? Do we have precognition? Do we have haunting?
Well, see, that's why I asked her when she thought she would have been, inside the ball of lightning. Did she notice any difference in her psyche, or her abilities, or intuitions, or anything like that?
There you go.
These are questions that I'm interested in, and one of them you mentioned is why particular people are being chosen and why particular people are not being chosen. Sometimes they say people who have Rh negative blood are often chosen. Well, I got an Rh negative blood. I'm very inquisitive. How come I haven't had any kind of an experience? Is there something that's stopping me from having an experience, or is it just happenstance? Is it just by chance that these certain other people?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the blood. Yeah, I'm O positive. I think it has absolutely nothing. I think that's just something somebody came up with. But that's just my opinion, see? That's just – so, Dr. Scott, what type of blood do you have?
A plus.
A plus, yay.
Yeah.
What about you, Janet? Janet,
I'm O negative. I'm O negative.
So there you go. We all have different blood types, Ahmad. So write that down. That could be in your questionnaire, just like we did for star people. We'll have a questionnaire. So what type of blood type? You'll find out it means absolutely nothing, because everybody's got a different one.
And now most people who have some kind of contact with aliens on a one-to-one basis or one-to-many basis, but an actual physical contact, they usually end up more intuitive, more in tune with reality, and than the ones who just happen to have a sighting of a vehicle.
All right, well, let's see. I am known as a bilocator, a psychic, an empath. I've had out-of-body. I've had near-death experiences. I've worn a uniform for the government. I've been underground. I've been up above in flying apparatus. Most people would say it's a jet. Some would say it's a UFO. Janet, how about you? And let's do Dr. Scott, too. You have any
I've had all
abilities?
I'm very psychic. I see the dead. I see extraterrestrials, interdimensionals. I've had ongoing contact all my life. Yeah, I think that I have enhanced abilities. Now, was that something that happened, as coming into the crib, like your husband, TJ, Tom said. Apparently, there are a lot of contactee experiencers that get enhanced, genetically when they're in the womb. So we've been investigating that. But some people have enhanced psychic abilities, but maybe they don't have anything to compare it to before they had the encounter because they were too young. They don't remember what was it like before. But I think it's a tendency, but it's not 100% that those things happen. But it is a tendency.
Dr. Scott, do you want to add to this conversation about yourself and your abilities?
I don't know. I mean, I dream things that happen, but there's no, being a scientist, I don't know how you study that to find out whether it's real or whether it's just coincidence. And then my sister and I were so young when that started that we really didn't have much of a personality, so it's kind of hard to say if we've been changed or not because we were just, real young to start with. So I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm studying bilocation scientifically, and you can look it up in research. So I would suggest, Dr. Scott, that you would be a prime candidate for research, being that you've had these experiences with Janet and I. So that's something, Janet, you may want to, for historical knowledge and for research purposes. And Ahmad, you're a curious person. And, of course, science, it comes from philosophy, but we learn to do discussions of empirical evidence. So, we can do journal papers and reference sources. And Ahmad's putting together a research magazine of individual researchers and studies and white papers and scientific articles, scholarly things. And he's given it to our group, the ACO Association, and we're going to run it through the American Communications Online and bring in our psychic phenomenon as well. Major contributors and affiliations in the past would have been intelligence agencies back to Ed May in 1995, et cetera. And that's when I came into another program. And so there's the American Association for the Advancement of Science, which you may be interested in. The majority of the group members of the Parapsychological Association is International Professional Societies, and they were founded in 1957 and elected an affiliate of the American Association of the Advancement of Science in 1969, and that's right when I was getting involved in all this. So I find it curious that a lot of these groups that were working with the government and the educational, and you were going through studies, and yet you were chosen or picked or just happened to have something happen. But they were interested in telepathy and clairvoyance, ESP, extrasensory perception, psychokinesis, bio-PK, near-death experiences, and they call it the out-of-body or the feeling of separating from the body. That's often accompanied with visual perception, of course, reincarnation. But, all that is very interesting to me, and it hasn't really been scientifically really in-depth. So I believe that's something we can go into with these UFOs, extraterrestrials. What do you think, Dr. Scott?
Yeah, I think it needs more study, so I totally agree with you.
Good. Thank you. And then the remote viewing, of course, they're putting in there, technical note methodologies. And, Janet, you go to these things, and Janet and I won't be coming over to L.A. It's basically a financial situation. It's not criticism. It's called lack of funds to get us there. But, I hope to bring in some evidence of PSI or Psi. And I was a big I finished all the Psi seminar stuff, and Janet went to the beginning Psi seminar stuff. And that's how she and I sort of met, was doing psychic stuff in the 93. And hopefully we'll get our book written about that. Well, space, Janet, and Psi seminars, bringing in together what you and I have done in the past, and then what Ahmad's doing. The four of us talking together. Ahmad, can you bring this together for Janet and Dr. Scott and me?
Well, I fully believe that the more we talk about these things, regardless of what we believe, or we each have a different perception of reality, regardless that we, agree with the other person or not. As long as we're talking about it, we can solve problems that way. And learn. I mean, you can glean, just because you don't believe somebody doesn't mean you can't glean some kind of knowledge that fits to your reality off that person.
All right, so the role of the mind is part of the physical world, and the nature of objectivity versus subjective or subjectivity is part of the equation of who we are. Theologians have been working on the general public knowledge, but yet we don't want them to control the narrative. It's possible that there's spiritual implications, but historical reasons are usually founded on who wins wars. And, Mother Earth goes around covering herself up with the plates going on top of each other and making volcanoes where Janet and Tommy live in Hawaii. That's common. So a lot of things are just gone away with. But one thing that seems to stay, whether it's theology or religious or superstition, it doesn't matter. But the main point I'd like to make with our group, for our association that we're building, is we draw in a brain trust of thinking people, and we just ask them to learn to think and recognize we're all kindred spirits with like minds, but we all are individual components of the same species in the same universe, so we're all qualifiers. Janet, would you like to talk about any of the things scientifically with Dr. Scott on the qualifiers that are apparent in some of our claimed research in psychological? Because your husband is an anthropologist, and he specializes in what you do. How can you help Dr.
We've been working with clients. He's a psychotherapist, anthropologist, and studying this since the 1960s. He's going to be 79 on July 9th, so he's been doing this all of his life. It's more, he didn't stop with his degree. He's been doing field work and working with clients, and I've been with him since 97, so we've been working with clients. So in a way, we're studying the field because we have all these people that are coming to us that have had experiences, and then you and I and Dr. Lesson and other people we've been interviewing, and Mad Painters, we've been interviewing people since, Revolution Radio started in 2011. I started before Revolution with Renegade Talk Radio, and then I was being interviewed and going to conferences for 25 years. So it's kind of a very loose scientific study, and plus you and I are, TJ and I are lifelong experiencers. We've literally been having experiences since the crib. So putting that all together, we're getting a big picture, and then we're working with organizations like Free, and loosely working with them. They're kind of more directed to Mary Ruggles and other people, but once in a while we'll do shows with them and meet them at different conferences and can connect the dots and compare notes. So what seems to be happening is that the majority of the kind of soft disclosure revelations are coming to individuals, and they're coming out, and at first they're getting ignored and labeled crazy, like Irene, you had the truck driver, rolling his eyes at you, cuckoo, you're cuckoo. So we've had that for years that we've had to endure, and that kind of stifles our are coming out, being shunned and shamed, and it was dangerous. But as it gets known, more people are coming out. It's just a phenomenon that's happening, and we're getting more pieces of the puzzle. And so I think we've just begun. We've just we've had the tip of the iceberg, and now, and I get it really strong on a psychic level. That's all I can say. I have no evidence. I often say, I can't even prove I'm alive. I can't prove anything. I'm just an experiencer going through life and wondering what in the world is going on with this thing called life, right? But I can make observations, and I can meditate on things, and I appear to be able to affect things now and again by my will, which is amazing, because TJ and I will do things, and then we get feedback, and we go, wow, we're having some kind of effect. So I think all these people, like you said, Thomas, we just talk about it. Whether we believe it like it's a religion, or we are just expressing it and experiencing it and don't know what to do with it. It doesn't matter. We are affecting the grid. The more